Yes, they had finally arrived on the mainland, but it was a place full of dangerous wildlife and thick underbrush. Most of the coastline was lined with swampy wetlands full of mosquitoes and other biting insects. A variety of snakes and massive alligators were abundant throughout the area, and they knew that they would have to travel east along the coast to reach St. Mark's, but the lack of food had left them weak and very tired. As much as they tried, they could only walk a short distance before collapsing onto the wet ground. In vain, Monsieur Pierre tried to start a fire, but found it impossible as no dry material could be foraged. All three were now overcome with the intense feeling of dread as the darkness began to surround them. They knew there were large beasts in the area, as strange animal tracks had been seen along the way. But it was what they couldn't see that frightened them the most.
Something is moving in the bushes. I can hear it pacing back and forth. What kind of beast screams like that?
When Louis was a young boy, and he would get scared, I would say, Louis, you are stronger than your fears. But I'm beyond fear. I'm absolutely petrified.
We must sit back to back. Stay perfectly still. Do not make a sound.
Madam, take this stick. If anything comes at you, swing at it as hard as you can.
For the rest of that night, they huddled together, terrified of the fact that at any moment, some great beast could spring from the darkness in search of easy prey to devour. Eventually, though, the early morning light brought great relief. But suffering from extreme exhaustion and lack of food, they struggled through the swampy wetlands until finally reaching a drier wooded area. Unable to go any further, the three of them collected what branches they could find and, using the flint, were able to make a fire. The rest of the day was spent sleeping, but as night approached, their fears of being attacked by wild beasts had returned. To protect themselves, several small fires were built around them in hopes of keeping away whatever might be lurking in the darkness. The next day, they continued their trek toward St. Mark's. Finding small creeks along the way helped to relieve their constant thirst, but no food source could be found. Mosquitoes and other biting insects were relentlessly attacking them as they moved on. But 2 agonizing days later, their journey came to an abrupt stop, as a river now stood in their way.
Do you think we can make it across?
We are too weak. I haven't the strength.
Oh, insufferable insects. That one hurt.
Cannot go any further without food. There must be something that will relieve this terrible hunger pain.
Should we?
The leaves did cure their hunger pains for a short time, and actually a very short time, but For as soon as they drank from the river, abdominal pains began to rack their bodies. The water had made the poisonous leaves swell inside them and caused all three to be unbearably sick. And with the last of their strength, they built a small fire as night was now closing in. An eerie fog had engulfed the area around them as they lay on the ground dying. The lack of food had left them too weak to go on. Eventually, Emilio slipped into an unconscious state, and they were unable to help him. And knowing that they too would soon be next, both could only watch as he began to draw his last breath.
He has a slight pulse.
But his breathing is labored.
We are all in our last hour. There is nothing you can do for him now.
That is true. But there may be something he can do for us. I remember stories. Stories about other travelers who had found themselves stranded. They too had been desperate for food. And what they did is too hideous a thought.
You mean...
Wait, he's dying anyway. Why should his death not benefit us? I cannot do this.
Do it.
But I can't.
We are dying, Monsieur Vio, do it.
Ah!